It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Jeff Giles. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Nice to have you here. You just mentioned New Hampshire, and I lived there for 20 years. Where in New Hampshire do you live?
I'm in Keene, which if you lived here for 20 years, I'm sure you know where it is.
Oh, yeah.
For people who have not been, it's in the southwest corner. It's like half an hour from Vermont.
Okay. Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah, I moved there when all the, what do they call it, the mass exodus. Everybody who grew up in Boston left and went across the border because the quality of life was so much better in New Hampshire. And I still worked in Boston, but I commuted, which was a real drag. But I moved from New England in 2005, so it's been a while, and I haven't been back since. But I'll tell you, I do miss the fall and just the change of seasons. I mean, New Hampshire's beautiful. No denying it. Yeah,
I guess we were going opposite directions around the same time because I was in California and moved here in 2006.
Oh, okay. Were you in L.A.?
No, I grew up in the Bay Area.
I've known a couple of people from L.A. that moved to New Hampshire, and they said, why the hell did I stay in L.A.? You know, they just, they saw a whole different world when they came to New Hampshire. And it is quite different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, well, nice to have you here. I read through your bio, and I particularly read the title of your book that you're promoting, Langley Powell and the Society for the Defense of the Mundane. Now, I have no idea what this book is about based on that title, but I can assume that it's going to be a sort of a satirical comedy.
Yeah, it's a supernatural comedy, and the premise is there's the main character, Langley Powell. He's a world-renowned debunker of paranormal phenomena who dies and is very embarrassed and annoyed to discover that he has become a ghost.
Oh, okay. So what does he do?
What does he do? Oh, after he becomes a ghost?
Yeah.
He ends up becoming sort of embroiled in this, in what he is told is a mission to save the universe from being unraveled by the magician who was responsible for making Langley a skeptic in the first place.
What genre would you put this book in?
Well, again, I would call it a supernatural comedy. It's definitely not meant to be taken entirely seriously, although there are some serious moments. I'm told that it has made some people cry.
Cry? Oh, that's interesting. Laugh, I would have expected. Cry? I don't know. Why is it so sad?
Oh, there's some serious moments. You're talking about, the nature of reality and things like that.
Okay. I see a few names on here. It says Langley meets Albert Einstein, Tom Petty, a goofy president, a surly toddler, and his childhood hero / disgraced magician. Tell us a little about those meetings.
Well, initially when I started writing this, I saw it as a middle grade book, and for that reason, I thought it would be a good idea to include some components of historical education, for lack of a better word. So I'm probably far from the first person who has set part of the book in the afterlife and included Albert Einstein. He shows up in the book to sort of explain the way things work to the main character, how the universe is structured. And from there, yes, there are some other celebrity cameos. He comes across Tom Petty at one point. He meets up with J. Edgar Hoover at one point. There are others. I included Edna Griffin, who was sort of the Rosa Parks before Rosa Parks in Iowa, and Claire Foy, who was the first female head librarian in Los Angeles. So there are all these faces and names filtering through the story as Langley goes on his quest to save the universe.
Okay. You came through Brian Boone, who's been on our show, and I think twice. Yeah. And he's with the Uncle John Bathroom series, Bathroom Reader, or something like that. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything to do with those books or not?
I did. I wrote a whole book for them called Beer-Topia. It's a collection of facts and bits of trivia about beer. I think that was in 2015. Brian and I go way back.
Why did you decide to write this particular book?
I had a coworker years ago who, whenever I upset her, she would threaten to come back and haunt me after she died. And given that she was about half my age, I at one point said, if anybody is going to haunt anybody, it's going to be me haunting you. And she said, well, you don't even believe in ghosts. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of funny. It would be kind of funny if somebody who didn't believe in ghosts became one. And then from there, I thought about how much funnier it would be if it was your whole identity to not believe in ghosts. And, you ended up discovering that everything you believed about the way the world and the universe works was wrong.
Did she not like you?
No, we got along just fine. It was just, little workplace antagonism.
Well, no, I thought it might have been one of those, we do all occasionally work at a place where there are people you just simply don't get along with. I didn't know if this was serious or not.
No, nothing serious like that.
Give us a little bit of your backstory, if you would.
Well, I've been a culture writer, entertainment writer, and editor for a real long time, probably since the late 80s. I've written and edited for a whole bunch of publications and brands. I took a little detour as a recording artist and label owner, which I think you can relate to, and spent most of the last 20 years working for a company called Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I've heard of them. They do reviews of movies, and right?
More or less, it's an aggregator for reviews. They don't actually do the reviews; they just collect them.
Oh, I see. They collect the reviews from whom?
Whoever is deemed to be worthy of the tomato meter. And
then they'll publish them.
Well, you aggregate them on the site and then create a score based on the number of positive or negative reviews.
Well, because I see their name pop up on IMDb quite a bit when you go down far enough into the into the page, and it'll say, Rotten Tomatoes scored this at a whatever, out of 10, I guess. And so, but I wasn't really sure what they did exactly. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you do there?
I was the review curation manager. So I led the team that's responsible for making sure that roughly half of all the reviews that are processed gets in on time and accurately.
So you got to review the reviews?
That's one way to put it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm just curious, what would be a criteria for a review that would not get published, like would be disqualified?
Well, it wouldn't be so much that an individual review would not be qualified. It would be you have to apply to become a tomato meter critic or publication, and there's a relatively lengthy list of criteria that, everything from the length of time that you've been an active critic or the amount of reach that you have, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see. So the people that are submitting reviews are essentially employees, right?
Well, they're not being paid.
They're not being paid. Okay.
No.
So why would one want to do that if they're not being paid?
That's the question, right? I think the main answer to that question would be one that is probably familiar to anybody who does any kind of creative work, which is that
exposure.
It gives you exposure.
Yeah, okay.
You knew exactly where I was going. Yeah.
Well, sure. I've been a lifelong musician. I know all about exposure. Yep. There's 500 different memes out there on Facebook about how exposure doesn't pay the electric bill, and it goes on and on.
Yeah.
I also see on here that you're a host of the Record Player podcast. Do you play music? Is that what you do?
The idea behind the Record Player, maybe you can relate to this. I have interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the decades, and been interviewed, and I know that it can be a nerve-wracking experience on either side of that. And so when we came up with the idea for the show, we thought, we want to have people on to talk about their work, but that can be kind of fraught. And so maybe in order to establish more of a rapport with the guest right away, we ask them to pick a record that they really love, that's meaningful to them. So we start the conversation that way. We have guests come in, they pick a record that that means something to them, and we talk about that for about half an hour, and then we talk about whatever they're there to promote for the rest of the show.
So these people are not necessarily musicians, right?
A lot of them are. We get a lot of musicians, a lot of authors, some actors. It just depends.
You don't actually play the record.
We don't play the record, no. I mean, you would run into all kinds of
copyright
issues.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's one of the reasons why this show is sort of morphed into authors, because we started out as a music promotion type show, and we quickly discovered that wasn't going to be too good when YouTube started saying, oh, you can't have that on there.
Yeah. So
you'd have 3 or 4 minutes of blank in the in the middle of the interview, and now here's the song by blah, 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 and it would just be silent, so we gave up on that idea and ended up promoting authors, which was probably a good move, because there seems to be a hell of a lot more authors out there than there are musicians. And, we've been very, very busy. I think that there is probably less outlets, maybe not now, but when we started, there were a whole bunch of people promoting music, but not that many people promoting authors, particularly unknown authors. If you were a famous author, you could get on any show, but, it was good, and it's still going, so I'm happy. But I hear what you're saying about copyright issues, and people don't want to take the copyright down. In other words, you can uncheck that box on YouTube, but then everybody can steal your music at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of understand why people don't want to do that. So this book, Langley Powell and the Society for the Defense of the Mundane, it has been released?
It has, yes.
Okay. How's it doing? You getting any Rotten Tomato reviews?
Getting some reviews on Goodreads and Amazon. I guess that's the equivalent of Rotten Tomatoes for books. I don't, it's out through Humorist Books, so they're the ones who know how the sales are going. I don't really know, and I'm kind of glad not to know. I have self-published before, and I know the temptation of refreshing your sales figures constantly to see what's happening, and I don't have that ability with this, so it's kind of nice.
Oh, so they're just going to send you a statement every month or something?
Or something, yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Jeff, I think we're going to wind it down at this point. Last question, do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yeah, you can find out more about the book at langleypowell.com. It'll tell you the premise that we talked about here. You can read the first chapter. There's a link to buy the book. There's a link to some press. Everything you want to know. It's right there.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you. Nice chatting with you. You going to write another book?
Likewise. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm working on several right now.
Is there going to be a part 2 to this, or are you just going to do something different?
The book, the novel that I'm working on right now is not a part 2, but if enough people show up for Langley and have fun reading about his adventures, then yeah, absolutely. The end of the book is open to a sequel.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, thanks for coming on this show. Best of luck with the book and your future books. Hope everything goes well.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.